hear my fidgeting on the mic.
The mics are now hot, so
Yep, perfect. We're going to call to order the meeting of the Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees for May 25th. Our first action is the approval of minutes. Blair did give us updated minutes with a correction, just to a name. Everything else is the same. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
who was the second?
Monica.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Minutes are approved, Blair.
Okay.
We also have an opportunity for public comment. Do we have any public comment?
And I did not receive any either by email or phone call either.
Perfect. Blair, do you have an updated Friends report for us by chance?
I don't have the numbers, the sales numbers. I got the ones for March. I'm not sure if I got the ones for April, but I will say that they have gone back to doing the sales every Thursday, 11 to 3:30, no appointment necessary. And they have, they're kind of limiting the numbers in there, but they haven't really had a lot of the traffic, and they are still asking for masks right now, just because my guidance to them was, we're gonna, request, we're gonna strongly encourage mask use, in our libraries, but since the ordinance is now rescinded, we're not going to insist. I said, but if you want to downstairs, that's your sale area, it's the library technically, but I said it's their sale area. But I will say that they kind of are, the last report I saw anyway, they're kind of back to pre-COVID. Now, of course, it's multiple revenue streams where they didn't have to worry about that before. It's the M. Tannery and Sons on Ramcat Alley. It's the sales out of the Seneca lobby. It's the sales out of the lobby in Walhalla and the bag sales and that kind of thing. But that combined with what they're making on the sales now, they are pretty much back to pre-COVID levels for monthly income. So that's definitely a big plus. Like I said, I don't have those numbers. I can send them to you. I'll be glad to do that. I don't know that I have the April ones yet, but I do have the March ones, and I can send those to you. That's really about it. What they're working on right now is still, we have, per their request, we have started taking donations at the branches again. We haven't made a big deal out of it yet, but we have started taking donations at the branches per their request. So if people have a lot of stuff, they're still better off coming to Walhalla because they can just back right up to the garage and unload. And the branches have so little space, but we have gotten to the point where we are taking donations again at the branches and, been doing some discards and things, so they've been staying busy still doing stuff, and then they've been able to pretty much fund this year's summer reading and a few extras that Darcy had asked for. I think that's in her report, and otherwise they're mainly just focusing on kind of getting the sales back to normal, continuing to clean up that area down in the basement, and working on providing for stuff that we need. So, they're in pretty good shape right now compared to where we were certainly this time last year or even in the summer.
Perfect, thank you. We will table the committee reports for right now, as we do not currently have anyone assigned to committees. For the chairman's report, I just have a couple of things. The Seneca desk will be our new desk, which we're very excited about, dedicated on June 7th. Blair will probably update us more about that, but I wanted to make everyone aware. And I believe Blair will send out the official time and details once everything's locked in. But to tentatively have it on your schedules if you're able to come, I think the family and the friends would appreciate any of us who could be there. Also wanted to encourage everyone again, if you are not already a member of the Friends, to please consider joining. They're a wonderful organization that supports all of our branches and a lot of special projects. And then the other thing is summer reading is picking up. The calendar, Darcy has a great calendar that's available online. And I would encourage you, if you ever want to hop in for any of the activities or swing by, they're always well attended and really popular and fun to kind of see how involved the community is with. So just draw your attention to those things.
Elvis, do you have a time that you're looking at on the 7th?
It's going to be in the morning.
Yeah, well, I'll get into it now. It's 9:30. 9:30. is the time. I believe the family has like a celebration of life or memorial service at 11, and so they want to go ahead and do it before, so at 9:30 at the Seneca branch.
That's all for the chairman's report. So we will move to the director's report to Blair.
Okay. I don't want to preface too much of what's actually in the agenda, so I'll just bring up a couple of other things. I did point out in the director's report that we also have reopened the South Carolina History Room, the Ann Rogers South Carolina History Room. So you can get in there again to do research. We still have a little bit of furniture in there that we're trying to move out, but we've opened it up enough to where you can get in there and do research again, so you can get into the microfilm, you can look at the index again. We do still have a volunteer that is digitizing certain boxes of Ms. Rogers' indexes, so she's actually getting it into a computer database. So eventually, the goal, the hope is that we have, I don't know if we'll ever be able to put it on our website or if we'll be able to get all that done before I retire or, whatever, but the hope is that we can eventually have that as a digital resource as well. But we have a volunteer working on it right now. Occasionally, we have some of the part-time working on it if things are slow. But that'll probably be a while. I mean, that's an enormous index. If you've been into the South Carolina room, you know that it's pretty much one whole wall of our old card catalog cabinets, and they're full from top to bottom, and each drawer is full with just all the index stuff that Ms. Rogers had done over, 20 years or something that she had done this stuff. So it's a pretty nice index, and it just, now we're to that point where it'd be nice if we can get it in a digital format, if nothing else, to preserve it and make sure if there's any things that we don't see on hers that maybe we have questions about or something, we can go use that as a reference to go look and make sure it's still okay, or if we're missing a microfilm, or I don't think we are, but that kind of thing. So we have reopened the history room. So about the only thing we really have left. We are still having problems filling a part-time position in Seneca. Just, I think, with the labor market the way it is right now, they've had several interviews. They actually had a candidate they wanted, and then they backed out for health reasons or some other stuff that was going on. So we're still having trouble filling that one slot. And plus, right now, we do have a full-time person at Seneca out on maternity leave. So we've kind of been, I'll just be honest, we've been kind of dragging our feet a little bit on getting them reopened on Saturday, just because, they're really, really short-staffed. We've actually sent one of our part-times from Walhalla down there temporarily, and then there's gonna be some folks out at Walhalla and vacations coming up and everything else, so we may even end up having to send her kind of back and forth. So that's why we haven't really pushed to get Seneca open on Saturday yet. Walhalla's back to its normal weekend hours, except for Sundays, which those always end at Memorial Day anyway, so there wasn't any sense in opening for like 1 or 2 Sundays and then closing back up over the summer. So Walhalla's Sunday hours, Lord willing, everything stays like it is, their hours will resume right after Labor Day. So that Sunday after Labor Day, not the one before, but the one after that, Walhalla will go back to the 2 to 5:30 on Sundays as well. So Walhalla will pretty much be back to normal hours. We'll probably extend the evening hours here pretty soon. That just means 2 different complete shifts. Right now, if we're closing at 6 still, those 6 o'clock people can come in at 9:30, and it's before we open at 10, so there's not really 2 distinct shifts. And again, once we get over some of our personnel issues and can get back to having a little more of a full crew, I'll also say too, because this is pretty much staff knowledge now, we are losing our technical services librarian. Michael's last day is the 28th, and he is going back into the Georgia library system somewhere in one of their districts in their library system. So we will be looking to hire a full-time position at Walhalla also this summer. So it's been a little dicey with, making sure that we keep positions filled and stuff. So that's why we probably will wait a little while longer on some of our evening hours, not go back to 8 o'clock until, maybe later in the year. I think by fall, I'm hoping that if we can kind of combine with the school district and make sure that everything's still going okay or whatever, we should be as close back to normal as we were before COVID. May make a slight couple of changes in the hours that I'll bring to you all as far as the full hours. We've got 3 or 4 years worth of closing records, like we've kept specific times and who's in there. Leaving Walhalla open until 9 o'clock on Monday and Tuesday nights is a huge waste of staff resources, electricity, and everything else. So we're kind of looking now at when we do reopen, like Walhalla will only be open until 8, Seneca's only open till 8 on certain nights, Westminster's only open till 8 on certain nights. We probably won't stay up until those 9 o'clocks anymore, just because we have the Wi-Fi resource. If somebody does come later in the evening and they need to get on Wi-Fi, you can do it right there in the parking lot. So us needing to be there later for like physical materials and stuff just is not as big a need anymore. So probably once we start looking at getting back to evening hours, we may just, make a change in that. And since that's our regular hours, that is something I would bring to you all. And we'll probably ask to make a change on that. Other than that, and our meeting rooms, right now, we haven't, since the stuff is still evolving about groups and how many people could be in a place and that kind of thing, we're kind of leaving our meeting rooms to, let's let summer reading get going real good first, and then we'll see how that goes. If there's enough other space, and it looks like, we can have bigger groups in the meeting rooms and stuff, we'll do that. Plus, we're trying to get sort of at the year end and order some new furniture and stuff, so we've got old furniture in those rooms as well still. So we've got a little bit left to clean up, but really meeting rooms and slight changes in hours is about all we have left to get us back to normal. And that's, again, just a huge credit to the staff. I mean, we've got it to where pretty much at our locations, you can bring the books back inside and turn them in now. We've done with quarantining, we're done with all of that kind of stuff. So, I realize that we're not completely out of the woods yet. There's not as many people vaccinated as we'd like to see, but for the most part, a lot of the staff at the library has taken advantage of that, and I think, with a few small exceptions, we're pretty much getting back to normal, which feels really good. Just a couple other things. I'll leave the Seneca desk and Seneca roof for when we get to that point in the agenda. And again, just on the whole mask thing, again, as you're all aware, I'm sure by now, the county did go ahead and vote to rescind the mask ordinance in county buildings as of the next day after that meeting. So it was the 19th, I think it was, or something. So what we're doing in the libraries is simply encouraging patrons to wear a mask. We're still wearing masks out when we're in the public areas, just to set that example. And then I've kind of left it up to the staff in like office areas and stuff. If you're comfortable without it, and you've been vaccinated, no problem. And many of our folks, if not most of them, have been. And then I've kind of left it up to the branches too. If there's a branch where more of them would feel comfortable continuing with their mask even around themselves in back areas, they can do that. It's pretty much optional in staff areas, depending on how you feel. And then the public areas, we are going to continue to encourage, but I will say it's nice not to have to be the mask police anymore either. If we have people that come in without one, we're not asking, are you vaccinated or not? Obviously, we're just kind of go on. The nice thing is if we're still wearing masks, then when we go to help them, we're probably going to leave the plexiglass up for a while in our branches too. Just, that's one more little thing that kind of helps just keep a little distance between them and us. But even if you have to step out and help them, like on the public computers or that kind of thing, we're still wearing the mask, So I think we're fine on that. So we really haven't had any issues with the changeover from the ordinance to not the ordinance. Nobody's really made any comments or anything. I mean, we still offer the masks at the desk. Every branch still has a box of masks right at the desk. If you want to wear it, you can, and if someone asks for one, we certainly do give them one. But fortunately, we seem to be able to kind of move away a little bit from the mask. And that's really about it. To not go into any of the other things, I will say just quickly. Right now, I believe, I don't know if there's an actual plan yet for them to go back, but what we have done this week, many of the directors in South Carolina have been sending emails to the representatives. The state house passed a version of the budget for fiscal year 22 that did include a 25-cent per capita increase in state aid, as well as a $100,000 minimum for the smaller counties. But they did not pass some of the other things that the state library asked for, because that, as our agency that does the money pass through sort of, they also have their own needs, obviously, of course. And they also had chosen to take it out of lottery funds, but unclaimed prize money. So we might have a chance of getting it, we might not have a chance of getting it. Depends on how many people, don't collect the prize. The Senate, on the other hand, when they went through and passed the budget, they did pass the state library's requests, and they also passed the 25-cent increase in per capita from $2 to $2.25, but they did it out of like regular lottery money. In other words, we're in with the schools and everything else as far as our seat at the table. So what we did this week, what I did was I emailed Representative Whitmire and asked him, to please consider passing the Senate version of the budget so that we could be assured that we'll get that 25-cent increase in state aid. The state library also does have a pot of money that we're looking at right now and trying to figure out how they're going to allot to various counties from ARPA, from the Recovery Plan Act. I don't really have any details on that. We just heard a little bit from our state librarian, Lisa Aiken, on Friday at our Association of Public Library Administrators meeting, but I don't really have a lot of firm details yet on like what we can do with it, how much we might get, how they're going to, it'll be similar to other LSTA funds. It'll be grants and it'll be reporting and that kind of stuff. But we don't know like how much. It's a little different than the normal yearly allotment of like sub-grants and other things that the state library might pass. So we'll have to kind of see how that's all gonna work. Some of us as directors still have some questions about some of that. I actually did have a call into Lisa this afternoon, but I had to come over here before she left me a voicemail, and I'll check into it a little bit later. But that's probably local budget. I know they've had the first reading on the budget, and if everything goes through the way it's supposed to, we might see a small increase in our book budget, about $2,000. And then hopefully also, as you're aware, this is the last day for Overdrive. As of tomorrow, Cloud Library will be our sole ebook and e-audiobook platform. But I think the transition is going pretty well. Not a lot of people have tried it yet, so I think I'm hoping we don't have sort of a shock as people try to log into Overdrive tomorrow and the next day and it doesn't work anymore. But we have a lot of information on our website about switching over to Cloud Library. They also have an app. It's really easy, and it's just library card number and PIN as your credentials. So hopefully most people will, check that out as either before that, hopefully they're doing it today, or if they realize by tomorrow that they don't have access. And our materials in Overdrive are not lost to us. We own those, so they will carry over. We're gonna have, I believe it's sometime either tonight or first thing in the morning, we've sent them a list of all the titles and ISBN numbers, and they will move everything over from what we had in Overdrive to Cloud Library. So we own those titles, and with Cloud Library, of course, we have access to about 5 or 6 other libraries and what they have in their ebook collections as well. So it's a pretty big win, but I realize, we've had Overdrive for a long time, and it's a little bit of a change, so I realize that we'll probably have to do some good PR on that, but I think otherwise, that's gonna be a big plus. Michael was in charge of that, so that's gonna also be a little transition. At least I kind of convinced him to stay through this week, so at least we get through our transition. But we do have our acquisitions librarian and a couple of the other folks that I'll even be helping with until we get our position hired again. So Cloud Library transition should be pretty good. We haven't heard anything yet. So, but that should go pretty well. And then, of course, again, summer reading, as you mentioned, I know there was a lot in Darcy's report. Summer reading the registration is now open, started yesterday, so you can register, anyone can register for summer reading online. And either you can pick up your reading log, they'll mail the reading log. We got a bunch of them printed, they look really nice. We got them printed by Vistaprint, they look awesome. And then all the programming will start next Tuesday. We're off Monday, of course, for Memorial Day, so next Tuesday the 1st is when everything officially kicks off. Calendars are also available online. Go to our website and you just click on summer reading. I've got it in 2 or 3 different places, and it'll take you right to her whole guide about summer reading. She's got the calendar up there of all the events and everything going on. So yeah, we're right on that edge. We're kind of like that roller coaster at Six Flags. We're just about ready to crest the top and zip down into summer reading, and we're ready for it. We're ready for it. If nothing else, that's another thing that I think really for a lot of us in our libraries, that's going to feel more normal. That's my report.
Perfect, thank you. On to old business. Blair shared or reminded us of the board bylaws, he re-shared them for us, which includes the committee designations. So we want to open up discussion to any proposed amendments or updates anyone has after reviewing the bylaws, if anyone has any.
I do, yeah, I'd responded to the last email about that. The bylaws under Article 2, under officers, the wording is chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. I think it is more appropriate now to say chair, vice chair, and I personally like scribe. That's not here nor there, but I do like chair and vice chair versus chairman and vice chairman. So I guess I'm proposing that we change chairman to chair, vice chairman to vice chair, and secretary to scribe.
Do we have any discussion concerning that amendment?
Well, I hear what you're saying, Liz, and that's fine on those two. What I thought I understood in my short tenure here is that the secretary is also the treasurer. So if you call it a scribe, that sounds more of a recording issue and not the treasury part of it, so.
But we don't have a treasurer here.
Pardon me?
We don't have a treasurer.
I thought Cliff.
We did actually, I believe, was it?
Combined
meeting before
it.
last?
Yeah, we did combine it,
kind of
yeah.
combine the two simply because we're supposed to have one. But of
Okay.
course, since our board being the way it is set up, where we are strictly a department of county government, you got pretty limited oversight over funding. In other words, we get what we get. It's not like I submit a budget to you all and then you send it to county council. We pretty much get what we get. But it does stay in the state library specs that we're supposed to have a treasurer, so we did just name it secretary treasurer.
Okay, well then let's do the
And on
secretary
that,
then, that's
well,
fine.
on that same note, secretary is not gender related because we have secretaries in the federal government
Right,
that it doesn't matter about gender, it's just a word, it's
Sure.
not a gender, so.
sure, I just prefer scribe myself, but yes, let's keep secretary, that sounds great.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought since I did read that they previously combined those two roles, maybe it's secretary/treasurer for all intents purpose.
Right,
Yes.
okay, so then we need to resubmit what I say?
Yes, please.
Okay, how about, I submit that we change chairman to chair, vice chairman to vice chair, and secretary to secretary/treasurer.
Wonderful.
And can you amend one more thing to make it throughout the bylaws and not
Yes,
just in
throughout
that
the
section?
bylaws, absolutely, yes ma'am, thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. Do we have any further discussion?
Not on
Concerning
that-
just that?
Just that
Just
item.
that,
Okay.
yes.
No.
I think we probably need to do each section
Separately, okay.
individually. So we will go ahead and vote on that section. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. We will make those amendments, Blair, in Article 2 concerning officers and therefore throughout. Okay. Any further amendments that anyone would like to propose?
I take this stuff real serious because I've done this in multiple roles. And so I actually would maybe suggest if you wanted to have an ad hoc committee to do this in the next month or so, and people submit those recommendations or their suggestions with their justification, so we can understand, or attend the meeting for that matter. But I literally think it's only 4.5 pages. If we go through it line item by line item or paragraph by paragraph and discuss this, I think it might be better than trying to bang it out here.
Do we have Blair, I'm going to look to you. I think I have to, a motion
Yeah, I would
to create
say
an
you
ad.
probably wanna have a motion to.
I'll make a
maybe
motion
appoint
to-
an ad hoc committee to study this, and then bring back recommendations to the full
The next-
board.
Exactly. So moved.
Do we have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Any,
Yes.
any opposed? Okay, we will form an ad hoc. Blair, I'm sorry, I'm not great on Robert's Rules of Orders. Would we do that now, or would I do that after the fact?
I mean, if you wanna hit some people who aren't here, that's always fun. No, I think now that you've passed it, if you wanna go ahead and say, who wants to be on it or whatever, and make the decision so that we can say, and, with this, we, as a group, we would like them to report back at the July meeting or whatever about what they might want to change. The only caveat to a committee was it would have to be 3 or 4, it couldn't be a quorum. So it has to actually be less than the number of a full board's quorum. So it could be no more than 4.
Well, it could be more, but you would have to post it, correct? It has to be a
Well, I
posted
mean, if
meeting?
we're gonna do that, then it's a meeting.
Well, then, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
then it's like a special call meeting or
Okay.
whatever. I mean, if you just want a work committee, it needs to be fewer than quorum, which it would be.
But well, I'm clarifying here, just so I understand. So if you have, let's say the committee are 3 of our board members, but if other board members want to come as public,
Well, I think Mike, just have them send you comments and
Okay.
things, and as long as it's not like, you have a Zoom meeting and 3 or 4 others show up, because that's still a
Okay.
meeting. I think as long as the committee does its work, but you solicit, like what you've done there, where you've marked up, if, you get everybody to mark up what they think needs to be changed, and then the committee considers that. Now, the committee could send out to the whole board its recommendations, and then each individual person respond back to, let's say, the committee chair. And again, that's just a work group kind of thing where you're not doing official work of the board, because you're not gonna vote on anything, or it doesn't become official until you all come back together at the July meeting. So it's not anything official, and if you don't have a big group, that meets, then it's not really a quorum. But if you wanted to have you'd have to have a called meeting if you wanted for more than the small committee. That was kind of the whole, I know we haven't messed with committees in so long, but that was the whole committee structure. It was usually 3, no more than 4, because, anything more than that, get into 5, that's a quorum. So that would be my recommendation, is that you simply, get 3 or 4 of you who are interested in this, get them together, start working on it, solicit those suggestions, and then come back together as a group and kind of decide what you want to bring before the full board.
Yes. So do we have 3 to 4 members who would like to volunteer to be on an ad hoc work committee related to updating the bylaws?
I definitely would.
I'll be on it with you. You lead the way and I'll be on it with you.
I could share it.
Absolutely.
Would anyone else like to be?
Well, you would have to chair.
I will, I'll,
Okay.
I think I have to. or
Oh,
be
okay.
I
next.
think you're an ex officio member of every committee, right?
Okay, so the group then is Allison as chair, and then Liz and Monica. Okay.
So we will report back at the July meeting. So that will be our update.
So will all the recommendations be brought to us so we can determine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Our goal will be to present all the recommendations to you via email prior to the meeting for
Okay.
review, to then be discussed at the
Okay.
July meeting.
Cool.
I'm good with that.
Then what is the committee doing? Just collecting ideas?
Making the recommendations. Yeah. We'll
But,
collect
so
the
we'll have the recommendations, but as a appendix, we'll see what everyone had submitted.
Yes.
Okay, even though we might override it or whatever. Okay, I got you.
And we'll
I got
bring
you.
the final recommendations
Sure,
forward
okay.
for discussion. Yep. On to the staff parking lot. If we have any updates, Blair?
Okay, no real update on that, other than what, and I know we had a complete group last time, so no real update from what Mr. Reed told you all last time. I know they're basically still working on it, of course. It's back. I think we won't see a lot of action until we get into this new fiscal year, honestly. I think we're so close to the end of the fiscal year that as far as knowing what's gonna go into them doing it and the engineering and that kind of stuff. The 2 questions that sort of still remain are, if we're gonna have to have more engineering done, where the funding is gonna come from that. And Mr. Reed was gonna kind of talk to the administrator and kind of look at that as well and see what we could get done. And then, of course, the expenses for actually doing it. I mean, if they're gonna do the grading and they're gonna do it and everything, I don't know, would they charge us for what they get from the rock quarry? I mean, I honestly don't know that answer. But the 2 big questions left seem to be, all right, since they did allow us to have that cut in on Westview, The engineering has to be done for that again, and I'm not sure exactly where we stand on that, but like I said, I think based on the fact that it's gonna need funding, I think now everything's just kind of going into our next fiscal year. And then, of course, you know, once that has been done, and they're pretty satisfied with everything, everyone signed off on it again. I mean, it'd be nice to think that we'd actually have gravel on the ground by fall, but I don't have a timeline right now.
If you don't mind continuing with an update about the Seneca Library roof and the new circulation desk additional.
Well, as Allison pointed out, we do have a new desk. There were some fun things that went into it, but nonetheless, the final result is gorgeous. It really is. It was installed on April 20th. We will be having the dedication, Ms. DeBose's family, and some friends, and then, of course, you know, anyone who is able to come, you're all invited. Be Monday, June 7th, 9:30 a.m. And it's just gonna be very simple. It'll just be, you know, a couple of words probably by, you know, Allison and Debbie DeBose, the family, and maybe they'll get me to say something, I'm not sure. It would be a pretty simple thing, but we are gonna unveil a plaque. We're having a nice plaque made up dedicating the desk to Betty DeBose. And so we'll be doing that, June 7th, but they're getting, you know, used to it and kind of snaking the cords around where they belong and putting everything in need and all that kind of stuff, but it's gorgeous. The staff is getting used to it. They like it. The Walhalla staff, because hopefully in the not too distant future, we're gonna start working on one for the Walhalla branch as well. They have all gone down. I think they went Monday. Sue Andrus took 2 different groups, I believe it was, and they all trooped down. A lot of our part-time and circulation folks, and even a couple of our backroom staff, they all trooped down to Seneca to get a look at it, and really impressed. The Seneca crew loves it. They're getting used to it. It is a little bit lower than it used to be, but I mean, that's, part of that was, you know, on purpose for ADA, and then part of that was just, you know, aesthetics. But they love it. It's looking good, and, you know, I'm looking forward to everybody getting a chance to see it, if not before the dedication, you know, on the dedication, because it turned out really nice. I mean, we had a few issues, but the finished product is just out of this world. As far as the roof is concerned, it's actually still in progress. They've been working on it for a little while. They got the main part of the roof done so that we could avoid the leaks. The first weekend after they finished it, we ended up with some leak problems, leak issues, and so that wasn't fun. But now they are to the point, they've got the metal fabricated, and they are putting metal sheathing around the edge, the brick edges at the top. I don't think they're done yet. The big roll-off dumpsters are still there at Seneca, but hopefully I'll see some, you know, more progress. They'll be done here pretty soon. I think they were supposed to be done within a certain time frame anyway, and of course the weather didn't help. Now that the weather's been nice, I know I went to Seneca yesterday, and they've got some of it done. I don't think all of the metal work is complete yet. They got the surface on the roof, and then they're working on fabricating and getting this metal on top of the brick, on like a metal flashing. And I think once that's done, then we'll be set with that. So that is able to be completed in this fiscal year, and you know, we should be set there at Seneca for a while, hopefully. So that's also in good shape.
Thank you. On to new business. Blair also shared the previous strategic plan, which technically expired in 2020, for our review. So I did want to open up discussion of any next steps, if we believe we should develop an updated strategic plan, if we should update our current one, if we should develop a new one, if we would like to wait until we get a little further out of COVID and back into normal operating procedure to have the discussion. So it is open for discussion, any next steps related to the strategic plan.
I'd like to propose that, I don't know what format we would need to do, but review the plan, work on the parts that need to be updated. Some parts may have already been completed, but I think this is a good base, rather than start from scratch, to update this plan moving forward. And, you know, I'm ready to start tackling it now, as opposed to later.
Do you have any further discussion?
Well, I agree with Shelby. I think we need to evaluate how much of this has been done. And if it hasn't been done, get the rationale why. Was it because of COVID simply, or was it some other obstacles that kept this from being completed? And then at that point, then you can go and look at updating it for the next 3-year period or whatever.
And some things may not even be relevant anymore. So,
Correct.
yeah, we just need to,
Correct.
but start here.
Correct, yeah, but this would be a good starting point. The only thing I might say is if we're looking at the bylaws, maybe can we wait till July when we have a revised set of bylaws to look at, and then this might be a little bit clearer for us too. It's not quite the same, but I think they're interrelated enough.
Any further? I think I can work with Blair to start gathering data to update where we stand even while the bylaw discussion is going as well.
Okay.
And also before the July meeting, bring some updated kind of where we are updates for
Right.
then review of that for moving forward since we feel prepared. for
That would be good, I think. I think that would be real good.
Because I don't think you can even edit it until you have
Right.
that
Where we
information.
are.
So I
Right.
agree, there's no need for a committee or to look at it in detail yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, the staff's recommendation would be, my recommendation, and having talked to a couple other staff members, knowing that we had this on the agenda and everything, I mean, really since 2020 was largely taken away from us, really should have started looking at a strategic plan last fall. And of course, there's all new board members practically since the beginning of the year, 6 out of 9. And also, since a lot of what we had planned just got put on hold because of 2020. We were closed down for 2 months. We were, only open at a very limited capacity for a good while. Had that spike after the holidays. So, really, for us to be able to put some of the things that were in that plan in motion, it was not gonna happen. So we're certainly not opposed to reviewing it and having, say, maybe a progress report, like where are we right now, what can we still work on? What has become irrelevant either because of changes due to COVID or, some other priority changes. I think a lot of organizations have made some shifts due to COVID and how they respond to that, even as things maybe start returning a little more to normal. So, yeah, the staff's recommendation would be that we would love board input, but we also want to kind of give this last one a fair shot. So I think a review is warranted if that's, if you all feel that's appropriate, that a review is warranted. Just kind of an update, where are we, progress report.
But with that in mind then, would this one just need an extension of 1 year? So that, since we lost last year, do we want to, and I don't know if you can do this or not, I'm just proposing, but if we made it to be the 2018 to 2021 strategic plan, where then all the year that we lost last year, we're able to start back now reviewing it.
Depending on how you feel about that, you are the governing board of the library. That is totally in your wheelhouse. If you all,
I think it's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's better just to edit it and review it as it stands now, instead of extending it. Because I do think there are a lot of priority shifts that have happened in organizations because of COVID. So I think we might as well just start it now. Not now, as in this meeting, but to go through it and comb through it and make those edits rather than extending it. It's effectively being extended to 2021 anyway.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just
Yeah.
putting the date with what's actually happening. I'm not proposing to doing anything different than what
Okay.
you're saying. I'm just saying, it might make more sense to the public if they see, we know we should have done this last year, as Blair said, and that we would, we're doing it now.
I just don't want to officially extend it through 2021. I don't agree with that. I agree with reviewing it. Let's look at where we are. And if we need to make some recommended changes, let's go ahead and start the process now. Because we're in the middle of this year. If we extend it, then we end up in 2022.
it's easy to say, now we don't have to worry about it until
Yeah.
spring 2022.
Yeah,
Which, I understand.
Plus, I think
what you
people
mean.
are in a mood where they understand what COVID did.
Yeah.
It's not a normal issue that I think would have some public backlash.
Allison, I would suggest that you and Blair think about this, that you think about a timeline. And a timeline for review, a timeline, and should just, all-encompassing timeline. Because I remember when this one was done, and there were several several steps along the way, gathering input and so forth, and so maybe put some parameters of a timeline on it.
Okay, wonderful.
And does it need to go in 2-year increments? Is that how this is set up?
That is also up to you all. We did a 2-year, just at that point in time. You know, you all could choose, I mean, there's not any set, there's no,
Okay.
prescription like on the part of the state library, you have to do 2 years or you have to do whatever. I mean, some libraries really get into it and do a 5-year and then just sort of adjust as they go along. Some of them, have gotten to the point where it's like, well, we really don't wanna do, like, we'd rather set yearly goals and then see if we meet those rather than going out a couple of years. That would also be something you all might want to discuss. Do we want to do 2 years? Is that too soon? I mean, obviously, if we hadn't run into COVID, I think we would have had these discussions and had a timeline already of like, okay, by fall, we would have had a couple of public meetings like we did before, and we would have done some of these other things. And of course, all of that, because we didn't know, really even once we reopened, okay, are things gonna be okay still? Are we gonna end up shutting back down? I mean, we never really knew much until we got to about spring of this year when it looked like, okay, the vaccines are out, things are getting better. Hopefully, we won't find variants or something and go backwards again. So I think it was, we would have had timelines, obviously, and we would have gotten to work on it in the fall if, and part of it too is having a new board. It was difficult. I'll just come out and say it was difficult sometimes to get a quorum in the last couple of meetings of last year. And again, a lot of that was just due to COVID. A lot of that was just due to, the vaccines weren't quite out yet, nobody wanted to be out. Totally understandable. So, yeah, I mean, I think probably figuring out what you see as something that maybe still needs work. We as the staff can give you input if there's something that maybe is not as evident from like our website or what you see in the libraries or whatever that we did get done. And then also start working on, do we want to have public meetings, when those should be. Hopefully as we get into the fall and things are still looking okay and full capacity at stadiums and all these other kind of things, then obviously we could figure out to have either a public meeting at one of our branches or find a location to have a public meeting, and I think, we could do that. So yeah, I mean, we probably don't want to just kick it to 2022, although again, that's totally within y'all's purview, however you want to do it. But staff, I think we would like to give this one a fair shot because I don't know that we really got that. But we're also not averse to taking your cues as far as, okay, where do we need to go from here?
So what does the county council itself use for their strategic plan? Do they have 2, 3, 5 years? Do you know offhand?
Honestly, I mean, what they've got is, they usually have like a yearly retreat where they talk about like budget
Right.
priorities and that kind of stuff, and then they've got about a 10-year like grand strategic plan where
Okay.
they talk about broad goals, smaller goals,
Right.
and then they usually prioritize. Sadly, we're always in that every 10 years, new libraries that we need, and then we filter down kind of to the bottom. But yeah, I think as far as their planning is concerned, at the level of county government and all that entails and the various public meetings and all that kind of stuff, yeah, the big grand plan, I believe, is a 10-year.
Okay, thank you.
So for the July meeting, Blair and I will work on a progress report that includes establishing a timeline to also be sent out for review from everyone prior to the meeting, so we can then discuss next steps.
Right.
And lastly, on new business, any additional updates you may have about COVID policies?
No,
Needs.
pretty much what was given during the director's report, we have changed some minor things. I mean, we are still doing some of our cleaning protocols, but we've kind of backed off of it a little bit, just as everything continues to evolve, and like we changed where we're not doing quarantine anymore and that kind of thing. We did actually keep a few of the cleaning protocols, like cleaning a couple times a week, because, I mean, our facilities maintenance staff is great, but I mean, they come in, they vacuum, they empty the trash, whatever, but us going around with Clorox or with, cleaning wipes and cleaning more thoroughly even than they normally would is a nice thing. I mean, that's good no matter what time of year or what COVID or, hey, we're gonna be in flu season again pretty soon. So a few of our protocols we will keep in place. Like I said, the plexiglass will stay up for a while. but we have allowed people to start turning their books back inside now rather than putting them in the outside drops. We're pretty much, again, with the exception of the meeting rooms and some change, still some expected changes in the hours, we're pretty much back to normal.
Wonderful. That is the last item on the agenda, unless anyone else has any additional proposals of new business.
You know I do. No, just the one easy one. I didn't know, I see we always post for the Thursdays that the Friends is having its book sales and stuff, and that's in the paper on the calendar section, but I didn't see our meeting posted. And so I didn't know if we would ever consider posting it so that the public would know in the event that they would want to attend. I realize the dates are on the website, but that it might be a little bit easier if people are reading it. So I just don't know what others feel about that. Other nonprofits post their meetings.
So, I'm sorry, run that by me again?
So it'd be posting maybe 7 to 10 days in advance
Right.
through the journal
Right.
on their calendar that we're having a board meeting on Tuesday, May 25th at 5:30 at, the Wahala or the council chambers.
Happenings page, where it
Yeah,
has
yeah, right,
all that
page
stuff.
2.
Gotcha.
I mean, ordinarily, they are posted.
Okay.
I think I got a little lax sending out press releases for a while, like I did send an agenda to our reporter here. Ordinarily, they do get
Okay.
posted, and they are posted here, since it used to be, the open meetings law says you have to post the agenda at the place of the meeting 24 hours in advance. They are posted out here on the front door.
Okay.
We used to post them in the libraries, but since we don't have the meetings at the library anymore, it does get posted at the Wahala branch, usually in our community events, so people do know it's coming up. We don't post it at the branches anymore because we don't have it at the branches. Normally, it does get in the paper, and I think
Okay.
maybe with some of the, changes with COVID and the fact that we're struggling to get a quorum a couple of times, I might have got a little lax about sending it out as a
Okay.
press release, but I will start doing that.
Aren't they on the county calendar too?
They are. They're on the county, like the main.
Yeah, they're
website
pretty
for the-
public, yeah.
Right, for any of the meetings like that are in this building, all of ours are on there. They're on our website and they're on there for like the rest of the year. When you all voted on that calendar back in January, everything went straight to Ms. Smith and everything goes on the calendar for the rest of the year.
Right.
That is a good idea, though, to post it specifically at each library, because not many people go directly to a website. So people that are going in and out daily, returning books, going to, whatever, that's a great idea, because that's where I look when I homeschool.
Well, when you're talking transparency, you can't err on too much.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
Do we have any additional topics? Okay, do we have a movement to adjourn?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. We are adjourned at 6:20 PM.